On the weekend, I made Honey Jumbles. Do you remember Honey Jumbles? Honey Jumbles were amazing. They're almost a gingerbread, and in fact, when I make them very similar to a gingerbread. So you could do less ginger than what I do. I just really like ginger, okay? And yes, I 3D printed a stand to hold my cookbook because that's who I am as a person. We're gonna start with a saucepan, and we're gonna do 80 grams of butter. That's 76, that'll do. I'm not gonna open a fresh butter. I'm 4 grams shy, we'll be fine. Into that saucepan, I'm also gonna add some honey, 220 grams. Next up, I'm putting in 60 grams of brown sugar. 60 grams. If you go a little bit over, it's fine. Then I'm gonna chuck it on the stove, and you just want it all to melt, right? So see how that's foamed up just a little bit? It looks a little bit frothy. That's perfect. Take it off the heat. 300 grams of sifted plain flour. We're a little over. You want a teaspoon of bicarb. Spices, okay? I used dry ginger for this because when I did it with the fresh ginger from the fridge, my kids got a bit like sooky about it being too gingery. But more like, that's a big tablespoon, but tablespoon, yeah? Two teaspoons of cinnamon. Next, I want a teaspoon of nutmeg, half a teaspoon of ground cloves. There's a bit more than that, it'll be fine. If you don't want the flavor to be that strong, use less. I'm gonna sip that in. I went down to the garden while that cooled down. Look at what I got. I don't know how well you can see. There's like heaps of like the mini romas, and somehow I missed this enormous eggplant. That's huge. Anyway, let's get on to this. So you know this is cool enough if you can hold the bottom of the pan. If you can't hold the bottom of the pan, you haven't cooled it down enough. Go and do something else and come back. So now this is gonna go into the dry ingredients that we sifted in, and we just gave it a little mix just to make sure it's combined. Scooch this in. Just gonna scooch it. So what I do is I start with 2 tablespoons of milk, and then I mix that through, and if I think it needs a bit more, I add a little bit more, okay? You don't have to overthink this, friends. You truly don't. So that's what we look like. See how it like has a bit of spring to it, I guess is the word I'm looking for, a bit springy. Cover it with cling wrap, chuck it in the fridge for an hour. This is the other reason why you don't want your buttery honey mix to be hot, because when you cover it, it'll sweat in the fridge, and then that'll put a whole bunch of like condensation. It'll put a bunch of condensation into your dough, and you don't want that. Oh no, Cleo, the condensation. Whatever. It hasn't been an hour, it's been 45 minutes. Shut up, let me live my life. We're just gonna gently knead it. If it's sticking to the bowl, just do the old blue tack trick, right? You'll get most of it. You just want it to look nice and smooth. I like it. I'm happy with that. So you can take this and you can roll it out as is, but it's a lot of dough, so divide it into some sections to make it a little bit easier, make it lighter work, you know what I mean? I'm gonna get my little thing and I'll be back in a moment. Stop looking at my butt. Yeah. Look, I'm just gonna go. That'll do. There we go. Put them to. Now, the size that you're doing is completely up to you to get the size of the bickies that you want. I am preheating my oven to 180. I'm just going to tidy these up a little bit just to get that shape a little bit nicer. Here is a lined pan. They're going to spread a little bit, but not that much, so don't get too excited about spreading them out. That's one tray. Now that you've done that once, you just do that with the rest of the dough. Tray number 2. Tray number 3. And this is tray number 4. I'm going to pop them all in the oven at the same time at 180 degrees, and we're going to give them about 10 minutes. Some people like to swap the trays over halfway through to make sure they cook evenly. I just watch them. If I need to flip them, I will. If not, I'm just going to leave them be, okay? They ended up doing more like 12 minutes, but it's fine. See what I mean when I say they spread but not heaps? I'm just going to leave those to cool down, okay? You can't ice these while they're still hot, so just hold your horses. Hold your horses. We'll get to it, all right? We'll get to it. I lost light, so you got to deal with the whatever those lights are called. They're nice and cooled. We're just going to ice them. We just want an egg white, not the yolk, please. I'm making royal icing. If you've never made royal icing, this is how you do it. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Na 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 na. I'm gonna do this thing until it gets frothy. Frothy like a cold one. Like that. You don't want it to form any peaks, you just want it frothy. I'm gonna do about 2 cups. This is a half cup measurement. It's gonna look like I'm putting in more than I am. I'm gonna start with 2 cups. I'm gonna sift that shit in and boil the kettle. Little splash, just a little splash. Yeah. That's a good consistency. That's good. Get a Bikkie. Dip her in. It'll settle when you put it down, right? That's it. I'm going to do this another 20, however many times, and I'll be back. I've iced half of them white, and I've got some left. And you got to have pink and white, otherwise it's not a honey jumble. That's us done. Now, normally you let the icing dry. No.